Okay, and then we're going to move on to network lines. Network lines are used to define value. They define value using lines, so no blending. When we get to value, we'll kind of cover both of these ideas, but for the most part, you will be using blending when we get there. But for now, when we're talking about line, we can think about network lines defining value by their density. So you can tell pretty easily in the egg drawing that the lines in that like mid-tone gray are more spaced out, and then in that dark tone gray they're just closer together. So that's the technique for that. Hatch lines all go the same direction and they are straight. Cross-hatching lines, same idea, but they as hatch lines, but they overlap. They don't necessarily have to be at a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle like this, but they can be. They just cross at some point rather than being all lines in the same direction. Again, the darker the tone just means that the lines are more densely layered on top of each other. Contour network, these lines follow the shape of the object. So they define volume just by line. Again, no blended tone here. So you can see in the eye that the contour network very clearly defines the shape of the eyebrows and the eyelashes, but it also defines the eyelid, some of the tone in the eyelid. So all of the contour network lines for each little section are going in the same direction, and they follow the form of the object. Form being the three-dimensional shape of the object. Shape would be the flat version of that. And then a cross contour network. So similar to cross hatching, right? Same as hatch lines, but in a cross contour network, they are following the form of the object. So it's defining volume very specifically. So on the left example there of the tree, that's a really basic version of that. It's kind of the like inner skeleton of the tree. And then on the right, you can get super detailed, right, and define every single muscle using a cross contour network. To create tone, you would layer your cross contour network with more dense lines. The less dense the lines, the lighter the tone will be. Scumbling network. Scumbling lines are random, disorganized lines to create tone. And stippling, this is our last one, is tiny dots, used to define tone. So same idea, right? The more dense the dots, the darker the tone is going to be. The more spaced out they are, the lighter the tone will be. You can also use stippling with color. So it'd be instead of blending color, you just layer different colors near each other. And similar to the theory with implied lines, your brain puts it all together so that you don't really notice all the dots if you're far away. It's only when you zoom in that you can see all the tiny little dots that make up the tone in terms of a black and white drawing, or make up the color in terms of a color drawing or painting. This is probably the most famous example of pointillism or stippling by George Seurat. So all of these colors are created by tiny little dots that blend the colors together. So here's a zoomed in example of it.